Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Deep Dive with OA. I am Omar Abedin, head of VC investments at TMT Ventures in Pakistan. Today, I'm having a bit of a fan moment because the gentleman that I'm getting to talk to is someone that I've been following on LinkedIn for quite a while. Much of the stuff that he does is inspirational and aspirational for me. And as we talk during this session, you will realize why. Please say hello and welcome to Gary Fowler, the CEO and president of GSD Venture Studios. Hey, Gary, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Not at all. It's a pleasure. Gary, I've looked at your profile long and hard, and there is no way that I can do justice to what you've accomplished over the last nearly 4 decades. So could you please tell us a little bit about your journey? I want our audience to understand how you got to be where you are today, running a fantastic venture studio, because sometimes people just see the last 3 or 4 years, but they don't see the 30 years that went behind it. So over to you.
Yeah, so I'm a serial entrepreneur and investor. I appreciate that. I've been involved in startups for almost 4 decades, almost 40 years, 37 years. And as I've gone down through this journey, my first company I started at 21 years old, and I had no idea how to do it. I was really lucky, came out of the gates running and was successful. But one thing that, as I've gone down through this journey, what I understood is that a few things. One is intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunities are not. So there's incredible companies all over the world, whether they're in Karachi or Stockholm, whether in Graz, Austria, or Atlanta, Georgia, or Miami, Florida. The key is, how do you get those companies to market, and how do you get the visibility, operational expertise, and the technology that's compelling and interesting for potential investors or potential companies. So, I've gone down through that journey. I've been involved in several unicorns. I was on the original management team of Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, and also Eva.ai, an AI tech company that I co-founded with Dr. David Yang. So, that's a journey. My own personal interests are in a couple of things: quantum computing. I've been involved in AI, ops, and Lisp, for 26 years, so a long time. And, we were talking about generative AI about 10 years ago. So in supervised VAE, GANs, those kind of things. And so we look at the future, and the challenge we have, Omar, is that, we have all this data around us, this infobesity, and, how as humans can we get down through and understand that data, this information overload? And so if we look at the challenges where we are today in the forward, I mean, think about it in your own personal cloud, Omar. How many times in the last 2 weeks has somebody said, I sent you a message, did you get it? Where'd you send it? I sent it to your email. Which one of them? I think I sent it to your Gmail or corporate. Let me check. I can't find it. Will you send it again? So that problem, that infobesity we have, really pertains to all our own personal lives. In fact, in your world, Omar, you've got about 300,000 items in your personal cloud. The entire web in 1996 was 257,000 websites. You have more information in your personal cloud, the entire web. The challenge is it's following the same trajectory as the web. By that, I mean it's doubling every year. So in 5 years with IoT, you have 10 million items. How in the world, without having incredible tools to be able to help us, are we going to be able to make sense of the world around us? So that's interesting. And the same thing with corporations. They're inundated with information. In fact, the amount of data on the planet Earth today is 123 zettabytes. Somebody said to me, what is a zettabyte? Well, if you took DVDs or CDs and stacked them one on top of another, it would go 94 times between the Earth and the Moon today, and growing at 68% per year. So we have a lot of data, and we need to have tools that'll help us to make sense of it. And as we start to see these things like GPT-3, GPT-4, GPT-5 coming out, they become like our personal assistants. And kind of like your grandmother, love you, care about you, and help you make sense of the world around you. So the evolution's there. And these are incredibly exciting times. As the world's shrinking and we're connecting ourselves together tighter and tighter, we have a lot of things we need to address together. I spoke at the United Nations about a year and a half ago about technology as a tool for peace. I think it's about time we figure out how to work together.
Wow, that's a seriously amazing segue into, I guess, I mean, this is going a little, extempore, so bear with me, but so I'm taking that you are a fan of AI and what it can bring to the world?
Yeah, I mean, the situation is I'm a fan of AI that can help us to make sense of the world.
Interesting. So what do you make of all of these guys who've been working on AI for the last 25, 30 years and are now looking at their creation with horror and saying, oh, we need to stop. This has gone too far. I mean, the guys from Google and I mean, there's a whole list of them now. What do you make of that?
Well, I mean, the situation is it's kind of like having a kid, Omar. I mean, depends on how you raise your kid, right? If you raise your kid in a way and you're not nice to your kid or don't treat it right, nothing good happens. So the situation is we've got to have a different view of how to develop that relationship and that interface because, there's a lot about teaching kindness and goodness. But if it's just pragmatic and you look at life in a pragmatic way, I'm not sure humans, they're going to look at us as something good, right? Because I mean, we do have our weaknesses and we have our strengths. So it's how you train it and, do you build compassion and emotion into the system or not? And if we don't do that, nothing good happens.
So those are two words that are not generally associated with AI, right? You associate efficiency, optimization, increase of capacities in certain areas, the ability to do massive computations. It's a very sort of transactional view of what AI can do for us. We give it an input and then it gives us an output. But you're talking about training it to be a better human being. I wish we could train some of our own human beings to be better human beings now.
Well, that's it. I mean, the situation is, so if we take that view of artificial intelligence and machine learning and understand that we're building something that could be, that could be smarter than we are, right? And help us. So we take that kind of viewpoint, it changes the real relationship that we have. And, we better start thinking that way really, really soon. Because think about it pragmatically, there's 200 active conflicts on the planet Earth today. So if you were AI and you've come to the point where you've got more capability than a human brain and you're vast and global, what would you think? I mean, the situation is you'd want to stop it, right? And so we got to go down through and train it the right way, develop kind of like your grandmother. You know what I mean? How your grandmother loves you no matter what. You want something to eat, she makes you the food. You needs to go outside. She holds your hand as a kid and takes you around. It's going to be kind of like that. I mean, having that kind of unconditional love is going to be really important and building that into the system. And if we don't do it, like I said, nothing good happens.
Yeah, then you have the Terminator movies coming to life, right? So
well, that's it. I mean, the situation, we're not that far away, so we better go down through, my graduate degrees in psychology. I actually I got a free ride. So I studied psychology as a graduate student. And one of the things I started to understand is that, humanistic psychology, unconditional love, those kind of things are really important. We better build those in.
I think you're the first person in this space who has ever talked to me like this. I don't really know what to say.
I mean, that's it. I mean, it's, you look at it, we talk about, what is AI going to be in another 20 years, right? It's going to change everything. And we got a lot of challenges in front of us on our planet. The population's 8.1 billion, estimated to go over 13 billion by the end of the century. If you look at it, the combined population of China and India will be less than the population of Africa in a not too distant future. There's 1.4 billion people in 54 countries and the largest population under 30 in the world. So we better figure out, number one is how do we treat our planet better? I mean, the kind of things that we do to our planet, all of us, are not good. We're gonna have to increase the amount of potable, drinkable water on the planet. We got to figure out, how to create jobs so people have jobs so they can feed their families. Because when it's all said and done, people, and this was my speech at the UN, they join a lot of these nefarious organizations like Boko Haram and ISIS. And part of the reason they join them is because they want to be able to feed their families. They want a sense of belongingness and love and all the things that a group brings. So we got to figure out how we can get down through and create that experience. So jobs is one way. If we develop jobs, without borders, so people can start to work together and understand each other and help each other, it's really important. These things, if we look at the future of humanity with things like global warming, where average temperatures around the world could be up 9 degrees Fahrenheit by the end of the century, there's got a lot of challenges we're going to have. So our thing is, I don't know about you, Omar, but when I look at our friend Elon Musk, and he talks about Mars. I mean, we talk about, moving to Mars and inhabiting Mars, but it doesn't look really hospitable. I don't know about you, but there's not one thing that I look at there that's interesting. It looks kind of like the Sahara or Death Valley on steroids. So
Yeah.
we should take care of this wonderful, beautiful planet we have. And, part of it is to get down through and not hurt each other and do bad things, but figure out how we can help each other and work together. And that is going to have to happen sooner than later. If not, nothing good happens in the future. And artificial intelligence, unsupervised, generative AI can help us to be able to make decisions of this data. And so that we don't have the challenges. So we are able to create enough food. Think about it. By 2050, we have to double the food supply on the planet Earth. We can't increase the number of cows because 26% of the pollution is methane gas from cows. We've got to go down through plant-based protein, right? So what do? That means to increase crop yield, things like vertical farming are be really important. Let's figure out how we can help feed each other.
Yeah. Okay, so before we come back and try and connect this part of our discussion with what you guys are doing at GSD, let's talk about venture studios. Let's assume that our audience has no idea what a venture studio is. They may have heard the term thrown about. It's becoming increasingly cool to talk about them in some parts of our ecosystem. Can you help us to understand what a venture studio is and how it is different from the other players in the ecosystem?
Yeah, I can tell you what a venture studio is, and then I can tell you where we are, because where we are is a little bit different than a typical venture studio.
Right.
So venture studios, essentially, they're active investors. They come into a company and they help a company. Let's say a lot of times, 70%, nearly 70% of the times, the founders are technologists. They developed a very, very cool product, but they lack the sales, marketing, business development, and the connections to be able to pull it off. So a lot of times, venture studios will come in. They'll help them. They'll help them with the sales. They'll help them with the marketing. They'll help them operationally to build their company, and they'll take a very big chunk of the company. Could be 50%, 80%. It could be a lot. On the one side of it is, I'd rather have 10% of something than 100% of something that's not worth anything. And so the venture studios come in on that side. Our view is a little bit different, because what we say is like, working with a company is kind of like dating before you get married. And so if you look at a typical VCs, will meet with the company a couple of times, 3-4 times, half an hour apiece, decide to invest in the company. But what, they say team's number one, Omar, but how much do you know about a team after meeting them for 2 hours? Like, would you get married after 2 hours? So our situation is, we need to understand, it's kind of like having a Ferrari in the garage. You got to open the hood, lift it up, look at the engine, check out the brakes and transmission, figure out what you need to do to turbocharge a car, supercharge it to be able to win the race. So what do you need to win a race? You need the right kind of crew, pit crew that's fast. You need the right tires, the aerodynamics. You need the right kind of driver. You need a whole lot of things, a 360-degree view. What we look at it is, if we can look at the company from the inside out and then figure out where the holes are and plug those holes, we create a much, much more valuable company. We use our network and contacts. You can imagine, I've been in Silicon Valley 40 years, who you know. And it's not just Silicon Valley. Today, GSD's in 57 countries, and we have 133 companies. So they're from places like Nigeria, Ghana, Zambia, South Africa, North Africa, Egypt, Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, Vietnam, Australia. We don't really care where they're from. We care about where they want to go. We care about the soft side of it. Do they believe in their dreams, Omar? Do they believe that the self-fulfilling prophecy, the Pygmalion effect, that they can come true? Are they open to suggestions? Do they really want to build $1 billion company? Or are they just talking about it? A lot of times these early stage accelerators, they bring people in to talk to them, to work with them that have really never built $1 billion company or been involved. So when you do that and go down and start on that journey, there's, you get to a point where you get pretty good at it after a while, understanding what the elements are and who to talk to. Because when it's all said and done, it's all about networking contacts, right? The people, your trusted network are the ones that are going to help push you forward if they believe in you and trust you and you have the credibility. So the key is having a great product, having the right network to get it out, and then being smart enough to be able to present it in a compelling and enthusiastic way, as my friend Guy Kawasaki says. Make it enchanting. And the secrets of the world is, it's not about where you are or who you are, it's about where you want to go and about how you can work with people across cultures to be able to understand their cultures. It's not about the differences that you have with one another. It's about the similarities that you have, how you can build on those things. So we look at it that way. We use Silicon Valley as a port, Omar, because if you look at it, still abundant, a good portion of the money from around the world is located there. So if I want to raise money from Pakistan, or I want to raise money from Sweden or Germany, if I want to raise money from institutional investors or corporate, probability is high that they're going to have some representation there, or they come there to look for deal flow. Kind of like fishing, right? I remember when I was a kid, 11 years old, my friend Bill Carson and I, he said, let's have a contest who can catch the most fish. We had 3 lakes by our house. I said, well, I'll take the lake on the right. He said, I'll take the one on the left. Let's come back at noon, see who catches the most fish. Okay. We come back at noon. I've got 12 trout. He doesn't have any. He said, why did you catch the trout? I said, because my dad told me yesterday they stocked the lake with fish. And by the way, they feed him cornmeal at the hatchery. So I took my mom's can of corn and I put it on my hook and I threw a little in the water. Of course, they came in because they smelled it. The point is, you got to go where the fish are. The fish are the startups. And so what we've created is an incredible ecosystem where we've got the best fish in the world that want to get caught. And the fishermen coming in, or women, come in because they're looking for those fish. So that's the way the ecosystem should work.
Indeed. Okay. So you said you've got over 130 companies in the studio today. What are some of the attributes that these companies have in common that made you want to work with them?
Well, first and foremost, we look at about 1,000 companies and we pick 7, up to 7. 7's our lucky number. And what do we look for? We look for people, one is we like, that are interesting for us. We look for companies that are in areas where, as I've said, that deal with things like infobesity, quantum computing, metaverse, Web3, areas of interest that are going to grow and bloom. We look for people that are open-minded, they're willing to take suggestions. We look for companies where we have contacts that might be able to help, because you introduce somebody, a high net worth individual, ultra high net worth, that's family is worth billions of dollars. They can be really helpful in helping you grow your business because they've got the contacts to be able to pull it off. So we look for, do we like each other? Do they have the right technology for the market today? Could we pivot the technology technology to make it more interesting? And are they open for change? Those kind of things. So the basic kind of things. And we say the KISS principle: keep it simple, stupid. Right? It's not about complexity. It's about how you can build on a foundation. It's like building a house, right? Let's build the house from the ground up, and it works. It's the way it should be.
And how much do you typically invest in these startups, or is that variable?
It varies. We have companies that have near zero revenue up to $150 million worth of revenue. So wide range. The situation is we base it, maybe it's a good investment for our family. Maybe it's a better investment for another family or an institutional investor. Maybe it's better if we invest together in that particular project. Each one of them is variable. I mean, there's nothing set. It's based on opportunity, where it works and where it makes sense for us. Sometimes the companies come in and they ask us to have a deeper relationship to get involved with. They like our help. They want to work with us. We like them. Let's figure out how we can work together closer. I will say this. If you want to create a unicorn, it's funny because a unicorn is a mythical creature. It doesn't exist. What we know how to do at GSD is make them real. So it's not about talking about them. It's about getting shit done. GSD.
Interesting. So when you were thinking about launching your venture studio, I'm sure you evaluated a lot of different business models, right? What made you go with venture studio?
Well, because I had gone down through, I lived in Russia, in Moscow, and I started the ecosystem there with my partner, Lawrence Wright. And as I went down through this journey, I started to understand what people needed and wanted and what they didn't need. And then having done it and been involved in several unicorns, you understand what works and what doesn't work. So one is having the foundation of the house built properly, your MVP, your customer development and validation, initial traction of customers, those kind of things were important. But then I started to look at it, and it's not just about that. It's about how you can use Silicon Valley as a port to the rest of the world and use your contacts and network to help you grow your company. Your friends will help you. Why? Because they also want success. Look at Elon Musk, right? He's got the Boring Company. He's got Tesla. He's got Solar City. He's got SpaceX. He's got Neuralink. He's got OpenAI. I mean, think about it. If Elon Musk comes up to you and says, "Hey, I got an investment. Are you interested?" What are you going to say? No. I mean, you people, it's not about, do you need money? It's how much and when can I send it to you? That's it. You get to that point. Our situation is, what we're doing is we're kind of like the Indiana Jones of looking for startups. We go around the world looking for them in places other people are afraid to look, or places other people don't understand where they are. And our thing is to bring those, those beautiful treasures out and create those treasures into opportunities. So everybody wins. And that's the other thing. It's creating a win-win situation so everybody partakes in the success. It's not about you. It's about all of us.
Okay. And from what I understand, GSD runs a lab first for applicants, and then you guys choose your potential partners for the studio from that lab. So if someone wanted to apply for the lab, what do they need to know? And I understand the odds are 7 in 1,000, but I've heard worse. So what do they need to know?
Yeah, I mean, the first situation is what they would do is they would go to hello@gsdvs.com, and they would go down through and we would set up, my team would go down through and look at the company. Is it interesting or not? Do they have traction? What segment of the market are they in? Those kind of things, the basic questions. And then the situation is if they pass through that gate, we set up a meeting and I actually talk to them directly myself. I want to understand what they have, who they are, is it interesting or not? So they would first go to hello@GSD. Then we would look down through their deck and their information. Is it interesting for us or not? Then we would set up a call. And I mean, this is not like a laborious process. We've got a 50-page application where you've got to come in. It's not that. I want to, it's the money comes out of my pocket. So I want to understand what they have directly. It's not like, there's 3 degrees of separation on this thing. Is it interesting for both of us, for the startup and for us? And if it is, then we have another conversation. We talk about it. And if it works, we invite them in. That's it. It's remember the KISS principle, as I said, keep it simple, stupid. We don't want to make it difficult. It's about getting shit done, not about talking about getting things done.
Okay, and then once they're in the lab, what happens?
So what's inside of the lab, magic happens. Because what we do is we take their company and we look at it from the inside out. It's like that Ferrari in the garage. We look at their sales, marketing, business development. Their deck, is it compelling or not? And many times, Omar, we have serial entrepreneurs. One company I have has done 9 companies. This is his 9th company, and he brought it to us. Why? Because they're looking for those connections to help them. They're looking for the expertise to be able to help them. My own personal background is AI, and today generative AI, which I've been working on a long time. How can we connect generative AI into that company to take it from 1 to 1,000, right, and make it incredible. So we go through the sales, marketing, business development. Throughout the process, the mentors and advisors are high net worth individuals, family offices, other family offices, and funds, and also angels, super angels that are interested in potentially investing. But the difference is they're doing it in a friendly way. They're helping. So it's not like you're 2 sides of the table. You're trying to take money out of their pocket. They're actually interested because they're friends of ours. We have people that are high net worth individuals like the Medici family out of Italy, Di Medici, Lorenzo. We also have top VC firms that come in. We have these angels and super angels that come in. They all come in because they're inside of our own personal network, and they're looking at ways that their families can make and their funds can make more money. That's it. But they do it in a way that's different because they're doing it in a way that they're trying to help the company to understand what they have. And maybe it's not right on target, but it can be pivoted a little bit to be on target. Think about it. Facebook was not the best tool out there. You had Friendster and MySpace. But what happened is he had the right network to be able to pull it off, and you become what you want to be, because what happens is people shape you into becoming that. Now, he raised what, $5 billion at the time. And all of a sudden now they become the top of the heap. Well, that's the same thing. Use that model. And so we put them through 15 weeks. We start out, looking at the company, looking at the tools, helping them through the process. It's more like advisory, helping them through the process to make it better, going down through the mentors. We call it mentor madness, rock the pitch. So pitches need to be exciting and captivating, not bland and boring. So we help them on those pieces. We look at the technology be tweaked so that things like generative AI can be added. We go down through, we introduce them to potential investors, friends, right, that are interested in their company. The final part of it is we have a demo day. We have 7 companies. Last time we had 312 attendees, which is unheard of, especially in this market the way it is. Why? Because they're looking for curated, incredible deal flow. And again, we can be a potential investor too. It may or may not be a fit for us. Again, it's like dating before you get married. We don't know till we check it out. Amazing.
So when you were, again, going back to, the early days of setting up the studio, how were you able to convince investors, whether they're high net worth individuals or, obviously some of these are people that you've known for a long time, so there's a lot of trust there, but how do you, get people to invest in a relatively new concept like a venture studio? That's something that I'm struggling with right now.
The situation is, so the way they invest is because they know who we are, right? We've had a couple of, we've done IPOs on NASDAQ. We've sold companies. So, they know who we are. So it's not our first, our first rodeo, they know us. So that's door number one. And the situation is we have incredible deal flow. If a company's gone from, I have one company right now that's going to do this year $100 million worth of transactions. It's not hard to say if last year they did 10, this year they'll do 100, that it could be interesting, right? And so, when you have trajectories on a hockey stick. And, even the most skeptical investor looks at it, they're going to take a look, right? It's about, okay, well, something's going on. They got the hockey stick phenomenon. So the ones that aren't convinced soon become convinced. Then again, these high net worth individuals and family offices talk to one another, right? Because we're all part of the same club. And so they start to talk and say, hey, you should take a look at this. And word of mouth travels. And they said, I went on a deal. Everybody wants to get in on something, whether it's a company like a Square or a Facebook or a Twitter or a Tesla before they end up coming out to the market. What we're doing is we're giving them a crystal ball to be able to look in at the company and say, here's a company that could be exciting. Take a look at it. So a lot of it, to be honest with you today, is they're coming into us. There's more inbound interest than outbound. They just know. And I mean, we write a lot. I've written several hundred articles, just wrote one. I just wrote an article for Forbes, one published yesterday, one coming out about generative AI in the enterprise, because that's the next thing that's going to be really interesting. How can we supercharge the enterprise with generative AI? So anyhow, they come to us. We've gotten to that point. Is it easy? It takes time. And you've got to have a successful track record to be able to pull it off. And, it's like there was a movie called Field of Dreams, build the field and they will come. And that's where they are today.
Wow. Okay, so what's the plan? Where are you going from here, Gary?
Something, I'm having a lot of fun. This is a lot of fun. I can't think, some people like to play chess, some people like to race cars. I just like to build companies. I have a lot of fun doing it. It's exciting for me, keeps your brain stimulated. And to be able to go out and help other people make a lot of money and be successful and realize their dreams is important. Because when it's all said and done, that's what it's all about. And they talk, right? You got a company where you do one key introduction and it changes that company's destiny. That's really important. So
yeah,
creating some kindness and goodness around the world to show that we can all work together, that's important. And a byproduct of that is success, right? It's because success is driven through those kind of relationships. So where does it go? Let's go out and let's change the world. Let's go out and step by step, make this world a better place. Let's go get stuff done, get shit done. Don't talk about it, just do it. It's not about talk, it's about the action. Sometimes, Omar, we talk about things so much and we don't ever do it. It's like dreaming. So people say, well, I had that idea 5 years ago, and why didn't you execute on it? How many times, hindsight's always 20/20. We can always say what I should have done then. But the thing is, what are you going to do today and in the future to make your life better and more interesting? How can you go down through and impact other people's lives to make those lives more interesting and compelling? And how can we bring this world together in a kind and good way to make it a better place? So all those pieces, for me, it's going out and making that dent in the universe, as Steve Jobs used to say. Let's each one of us can make that little dent. Let's just try it. Let's put that step forward, that foot forward, and let's make that little dent. And that dent can can create a tsunami of kindness around the world, tsunami of opportunity around the world, tsunami of goodness around the world. So let's take that step forward.
I'm frankly amazed at the way you express yourself around these things, Gary. I've literally not met anyone else who talks about, the kind of impact they're trying to create in these terms. So all I can say is I really wish you well on your journey. Before we go, I have one question, which is kind of self-serving, and I hope you'll forgive me for asking this. But, as someone who's running a small venture studio that has been totally bootstrapped, what are the top 1 or 2 or 3 things that I should be looking at to really continue to build and, bring that studio to the next level?
Well, I mean, the one thing you want to do is, getting visibility, just like you're doing here, Omar, and the credibility. So you can have that Ferrari in the garage, but you got to get it out so people know you got a Ferrari. You got to take the Ferrari out and you got to make sure you win the Formula One with the Ferrari. So getting it out is one thing, and then winning the race. So one of the things exactly what you're doing here is getting that visibility. Success is, so if you've had a couple of successes, highlight those successes so people can understand what you've done and where you're going. And the other thing is, opening up. So you don't have those borders that you're going out and looking for those kind of companies that could be exciting in anticipation of how this world's changing. I told you about data. We talked about quantum computers. We talked about metaverse Web3. Look for companies that are in those areas that can basically change the world, and make that dent in the universe. So is it easy? No. Is it fun? Of course it's fun and exciting. Have some fun.
Oh, I am. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it. I mean, I've reached that point in my life where if something is not at least at the base level, if it's not stimulating enough and if it's not fun enough, then there's no point in doing it. I mean, you do something else, as anything else. But yeah, Gary, what final words do you have for our listeners? What poignant advice can you share about the future, about your view?
Yeah, sure. So, it's not about the talk, it's about the action. Be passionate about what you're doing, love what you're doing. And if you do that, that love goes around and people understand it's exciting, incredible. The law of attraction, it'll bring people in. Develop those relationships and networks that can help you, those trusted friends, because they're going to be important throughout your life. And the other thing is, don't give up on yourself. Look yourself in the mirror and believe in your dreams. Because if you believe in your dreams, they come true. It's called the self-fulfilling prophecy in psychology, the Pygmalion effect. If you believe, you can manifest it, and it happens. Sometimes we forget. So go out there, get them, get shit done, believe in yourself, and other people will believe in you too.
Gary Fowler, it has been absolutely mind-blowing talking to you. I mean, that's not an exaggeration. Thank you so much for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, we've had an amazing discussion with Gary. I don't really know how to thank you enough, Gary, for your time. I will be posting this shortly, and I look forward to staying in touch and continuing to learn from you. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Take care of yourself. Stay happy, stay safe, and stay healthy. And take care of yourselves. And we'll be back to you soon. Thank you.
All right. Bye, Gary.
Bye-bye.